What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday. We're getting tactical. Got some fun stuff to talk about today. We'll do some list review as normal, but I also wanted to take the opportunity because I worked all weekend on T5S2 Invitational stuff, and the first round pairings for that went live yesterday. So we have lists, we have participants, group assignments for that event, which I think will be fun to talk about. Also, I'm going to be leaving tomorrow. I'm going to be heading over to Tennessee for the ATC, the latest incarnation of the America's Team Challenge. And that will be live starting Friday morning. And actually, before I forget, I'm going to make it so that this redirects people to that stream so that then they can see that. All right, cool. So that'll be a 3-day, that'll be 3 days of coverage. I don't know which event that I'm streaming quite yet because there are two events at the ATC. There is a 5-man and an 8-man team event. I have no idea yet, so we'll find out, I guess, once we're there. I think that depends on the coordinators. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be cool. It's been a little while since I've streamed an event, so I think, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be pretty rad. Very much like to know Inky's thoughts on Brian X's. Not enough scritches, probably. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming and hanging out. And I don't know, let's dive into it. Let's talk about some T5S2 stuff. So for those who don't know, this is the tournament circuit that I run. T5S2 stands for TacticalTortoise Tabletop Simulator Tournament Series. So there's 5 T's and 2 S's, hence the name. Every year we take, and we can take a look at the standings from the past season. We take results from online tournaments, both that I run and across the world. We rank everyone accordingly. You get to retain 6 of your ranks over the course of the year. Essentially the same system that the ITC uses. This season we had about 400 players in this series, and then I send invites to the top 16 of those. Excluding myself, so this season was the top 17. And they got the opportunity to compete in the Invitational. So we have a couple $100 of prize support up. It would basically take entry fees from, or whatever doesn't go to prize support for events that I run that are paid. And those go to a pool that gets dispersed to the Invitational participants at the end of the season. So we have a couple $100 of prize support that they're fighting over, but also the acclaim of winning what is essentially a 400-person tournament. So it's pretty stacked on the top this time around. We can take a look at the players here. You can find out more information at tts40k.com. I'll put it in the chat here. Is the T5S2 homepage. So you can find out more information there. And as a reminder, if anybody wants to compete in the series, if you are a tournament organizer or you play an online events, make sure that if those events are run on BCP and are at least 1,500 point game size, and open to the public, then you can you can charge an entry fee, or you can run them as like a membership required event, as long as everyone is available to sign up. You can't just like invite only your friends and exclude everyone else. Then you're eligible to submit results to the tournament, to the series. And there is a token system in my Discord under resources. There's a token request form that you can fill out, and then you can get tokens for that. If you're a player, you can play in such events, and in addition, you can come hang out in our Discord. In the Discord, I run between 1 and 3 or so tournaments a week. We run what are called pods, which are 4-round 16-player tournaments, and those launch weekly. So if you come hang out in the Discord, you'll find some channels called Join a Pod. If you just post in those, then after 16 players get added, usually Monday or Tuesday, I will add the top 16 people in that waitlist into an event, and then you just have to register on Best Coast Pairings, and then you're off to the races. You play 1 game a week, and then you're good to go. But yeah, so the Invitational is currently ongoing for this season. Like I said before, it's kind of a stacked crew this time around. I think many of the players on here are pretty hardcore GT participants in real life as well, and most of them have either podiumed or won GTs in the past. Or I should say many of them. I don't know. I don't know for sure if everyone has, but I know that many of them have done well in GTs in the past. We even have a couple WTC participants as well. Ash C, the current front runner, is on WTC Team Singapore. Devin Swan, I believe, in the past has been on WTC Team Canada. I don't know if he is this year, off the top of my head. But the players got grouped into groups based on a combination of their location and ranking, just to make it easier to schedule the first group games. The event is a double elimination for the first for the group stage. So each player got put into a group of 4. They're going to basically have 2 opportunities to get to this final game. The winner of the final game here goes to a single elimination final stage. So they have 3 weeks to complete the group stage, which is probably 4 games to get to the final game, to get out of the final game, and then we'll be doing 3 games for the elimination stage after that. But I think we'll take a little peek at the lists here. We have a predominance of Adeptus Sororitas right now. I think about 5 players. Is that right? 5 players have Adeptus, or 4 players have Adeptus Sororitas. So 25% of the group, which I think is probably to be expected, given how strong the faction is currently. Basically, Sisters and Blood Angels top picks. Yeah. Essentially, it's a little bit of a shocker. So I think it's 2 Blood Angels, 2,000 Suns, which is, I think, probably to be expected, especially if you are expecting to play against Blood Angels. I think 1,000 Suns are fairly good in the Blood Angels matchup. I don't think that they're very good in the Adeptus Sororitas matchup, so that might go kind of poorly for them. We'll see. We've got a little bit of a Chad inclusion of Imperial Knights, 1 Tau Empire from Devin Swan, which I think is also another good pick. Tau Empire have been kind of killing it recently, so I am actually surprised that they're the only inclusion, but I know Devin loves his big guns. So he's a past T5ST Invitational winner with Tau, and it just loves shooting people with railguns, man. It's just a favorite thing. Yeah, 1 Lone Imperial Knights for Beef Supreme. And I know Beef Supreme over here was... oh, no. The little picture broke. No. I have to fix that. Mentioned that he is... he's mostly doing it because he thinks they're cool. Less so about a metagame selection, but mostly because they're cool. Running a Cerastus Atropos, which I know is a very popular inclusion more recently because it's a kind of a combined arms knight. It has 2 big anti-tank weapons, but it can also use its Las Cutter, its 4 damage ranged weapon in melee. It uses it as a melee weapon. It has a melee profile. So it's not trash in melee. I'm not going to say it's the best thing ever, but it's not trash. It's good at sweeping heavy infantry, just cutting them in half with its big laser beam. And it's also extremely good at shooting at heavy targets. But he also has a little bit of a troll. And I think I played against this list on stream, and I believe that the recording is on the VOD channel right now. But he plays this knight Castan with Mysterious Guardian to teleport around the table and just be kind of a pain in the ass to kill, because they're the big... the 26 wound, 2+ save knights, so it's extremely difficult to kill and can teleport around to basically nuke whatever one thing can kill it. And then you follow that up with the Atropos and Canis Rex. And then running 1 Helverin triple Warglaive as the follow-up there. Oops, I closed my window. Looking at the most interesting lists, we have 1 Tyranids from Odysseus. Oh, what is happening with my little profile pictures? I'm so sad. I think I know the problem. It's running a Crusher Stampede, which is kind of sweet. I haven't tried out Crusher Stampede with the new updates. I think it actually seems pretty good. I'm curious to see it on the tabletop. Double Hive Tyrant in this one. Standard Foot Hive Tyrant plus the Swarm Lord for the Lord of Deceit aura, plus a Nero Tyrant. Gargoyles and Hormigons for Disruption. A 6 Zoanthrope unit. These guys are actually really troll in Crusher Stampede because you can use Swarm Guided Salvos on them. That just requires that you target a monster unit with them. As long as they have attached to the Nero Tyrant, they have the monster keyword. So they can get Ignore Cover just standard. You don't even need a Pyrovore to get it, which is really cool. They also get some opportunities to shoot in melee. I don't believe that they get the... I probably should double check. I don't believe that they get the detachment bonus because I think that counts monster models. But if they do, and they do get +1 to hit, I guess it doesn't matter so much. They could potentially get +1 to wound. But if they do get +1 to hit, I guess that's kind of cute. They already have +1 to hit, though, from the Nero Tyrant, so it probably doesn't matter. But the second bonus would be cool. Let's see. What does Crusher Stampede say? Oh, interesting. So, while the model is below starting strength, it gets +1 to wound. So it's not going to... Or gets +1 to hit and +1 to wound below half strength. So it's not really going to benefit the Zoanthropes at all. However, the new update is that monster units at starting strength add 2 to the objective control characteristic of models in the unit. So these guys are actually OC3 before you lose any Zoanthropes, which is that's kind of a troll. I don't know if that matters so much, but you can steal people's objectives with Zoanthropes as long as nobody kills any of them, which is a little bit hard, but it is what it is. 2 Exocrines, a Haruspex, 2 Maliceptors, and a Psychophage. Double Psychophage, triple Psychophage, what the heck? Triple Psychophage in order to keep people alive. That's nuts. These are basically like little utility units. They are very large, which is a little bit annoying for them, but they're so cheap and they're difficult to kill for their points value because they have a baked-in 5+ Feel No Pain. That they're actually not the worst thing ever. Just running out and doing it, like sort of doing objectives, and they also benefit from all the synergies that Crusher Stampede normally has. Whereas like Valiant over the Castellan for the Imperial Knights list. Yeah, I think that the difference is that the cast, like, Deep Strike, in my opinion, gets better the longer range your guns are, because the available like angles that you can peek with it are much more exciting. I think that it works sort of inversely if you have shorter range weapons. Like Deep Strike becomes better for supporting you, but you don't really synergize as well with Deep Strike. But I think the ability to jump into a corner or something and cut an angle at your opponent I wasn't necessarily expecting, I think is really important. And it's like eminently screenable with the Flamer from the Valiant. And the Valiant can't Overwatch still, so it's kind of sad. Thousand Suns over here getting worried. We'll have to see. We do have a bunch of Chaos Knights as well. Group C, for some reason, got a bunch of Chaos Knights. Both the Child That's Digital Wizard and Telly registered Chaos Knights, which is kind of wild. This one with a Knight Rampager plus 4 Brigands and 4 Carnivores and some Nurglings for utility. It is nice that we are finally seeing sort of the reintroduction of big knights into the list. So one of them with a Rampager, the other one with a Lancer. Let's go. Alongside 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Brigands and 4 Carnivores, it looks like, this time around. All right, we can talk about a little bit of Thousand Suns here, chat, before we sort of move off. Sergeant Crusader over here, running Ahriman on a disc, alongside just this standard Exalted Sorcerer. So this is like the Arcane Shield regeneration guy, which is interesting. We don't see that guy very often. I think the disc sorcerers actually do have Arcane Shield as well. which I always forget, and I see everyone else forget is on top of that, because most of the time you're taking the foot sorcerers for Exalted, for Arcane Shield, and the Exalted sorcerers are just kind of there for show. But the Exalted, the Disc sorcerers obviously don't have the regeneration effect. It's interesting to have Umbrella Crystal on that guy, though. I wonder if he's also going to be by himself. We've got one Infernal Master, Magnus the Red, one Demon Prince, double Zangor Shamans. So unless we have Zangors in the list, which it doesn't look like we do, these guys are pretty good, just a singleton Kabbalistic Ritual users. Because Kabbalistic Rituals can only get used once per sorcerer now, having additional sorcerers to just like repeatedly spam the Kabbalistic Rituals that you need definitely helps. And these guys are also move 10. They are mounted, so they have a little bit of tough time going around walls and stuff. I don't really understand why they're mounted, because the other disc sorcerers are jump infantry, but I don't know. It is what it is. But that you can fling them out to do Warp Sight, and because you can discount Warp Sight now, it's a little bit more reasonable to get it and then just blow people away with the big flamers. With the Infernal Master, the Arcane Vortex Infernal Master, and the Exalted Sorcerers are auto-hitting flamers or torrent weapons, so those guys can fire through walls without really worrying about it. We've then got a big 10-man of Rubrics. 2 10-mans of Rubrics. Dang, okay. One of them has Inferno Bolt Guns, so we're using the Wombo combo on these guys. So you can turn their bolters into psychic weapons. You can't do it with the Flamer, but you can do it with the bolter and give them rerolls and additional range. And then they gain devastating wounds from the detachment ability, obviously, and sit next to Magnus, and they do sort of pretty insane damage. The downside is that it was always extremely CP intensive. But now that you can duplicate any stratagem, I do think that it's probably a little bit more reasonable. Because you can get discounts wherever you need them. There's also... we don't have a Lord of Forbidden Lore in this list, but I think there is an argument to put the Lord of Forbidden Lore in the unit that you're going to be buffing, because then he can use the free stratagem effects on himself. And you can potentially get 2 CP of free strats in that unit, which is cool. We have a 10-man Warp Flamer unit, and then 2 just 5-man units, plus Zangor and 2 Zangor Enlightened Occultists for utility. That's a lot of big bricks. That's pretty gnarly. I don't need a fat shame sorcerers who need lift assistance. It's funny because like the Exalted sorcerers are big dudes. They got extra arms and stuff like all over them. But the Zangor Shamans are real scrawny. But the Zangor Shamans are the ones that have trouble getting around corners. I don't really understand it. So Group D down here, this one's a little bit of a Horus Heresy redux. We got double Blood Angels into Chaos Space Marines and Thousand Suns. So that one's going to be interesting. It's going to be a big question of whether or not Blood Angels get out of that first round. I do think that Thousand Suns definitely are pretty... Although this is a really interesting Thousand Suns list. So we'll see how it does against Blood Angels. Very aggressive Blood Angels. But Thousand Suns are... I think they're advantaged in the Blood Angels matchup. But it's definitely not a foregone conclusion, since almost any... Just like a single Blood Angel model can come in and kill like an infinite Rubric Marines. But the other question is going to be the Chaos Space Marines as well. So, this is Alucard running an Exalted Disc Sorcerer with Lord of Forbidden Lore. This is a little... The readown here got a little jumbled. Just a standard Disc Sorcerer, an Arcane Vortex Infernal Master, a Numberless for Crystal Infernal Master, and a just baseline Infernal Master, plus 1 Zangor Shaman. We do have Zangors for the Shaman to join into, so he might be actually joining them to buff them up. But usually we see that if you Umberlific Crystal the Zangor Shaman, so he can jump the unit around. We then have just 15 Rubric Marines, 3 units of 5. But the spicy thing is that we're taking double Cultists and triple Mutalith Vortex Beast. So this list is much more aggressive and much more sort of frontline. And essentially what it's going to try to do is get people to sort of toilet bowl on the Vortex Beasts. To vortex around the beasts, if you will. And then be able to counterpunch them with the lower number of Ruben Marines it has. So it's much better at like sort of scoring and playing aggressively than other varieties of Thousand Suns. But it is a little bit awkward if you get into super duper tough melee matchups. Because those Vortex Beasts do go down fairly quickly, and you don't have a very much of a front line in this one. Unlike the more rubric heavy lists, you can sort of forward with the rubrics and the characters, but this one is a little bit less dependent on the characters. That said, there are triple Infernal Masters, so you are very good at warp sighting out with the Zangor Shaman or the Disc Sorcerers, and just triple flamering someone directly into the stratosphere. Because 3 Infernal Masters, if you're triggering, if they're standing on objectives and you're triggering their rerolls, 3 Infernal Masters will kill just about anything, especially if Magus is nearby. Ready to watch Tau versus Imperial Knights? So the group stage pairings are posted. So if you can check out the event down here, and actually you can cycle through all the group stages, and then as they are getting scheduled, they're going to be going into this document right here. Unfortunately, because of the timing of ATC, I'm going to be gone for the next week or so. So the first round pairings, I will probably miss most of them. However, I have asked the players to stream them into the Discord if they're available. So their scheduled game times are getting posted in the document. And as they get worked out, they will most likely be scheduled in the Discord. So if you're in the Discord server, !Discord, or you can follow the links down in the video description. Then you should be able to watch these games as they occur. But for the games next week, for the next round pairings, I will probably be able to stream most of them. It's just awkward timing for because ATC. But speaking of Tau, take a little peek at Tau over here. Devin Swan's rocking some Tau. This is a Montka, so we're doing the lethal hit detachments with triple Cadre Fireblades, which is kind of exciting. Plus Darkstrider, so no other characters, just the 3 Cadre Fireblades. The Strike Swiftly by Fireblade's always a little bit funny because you have to kind of finagle him to be able to target people on turn 1, which oftentimes means that you like cycle him in and out of an objective, or in and out of a Devilfish really early. We're then running 3 Breacher teams, and 1 Pathfinder team for Darkstrider to jump into. Looks like double stealth battle suits. This could probably use some parsing here. 1 Krutox Rider just for utility. A 2 model broadside battlesuit team to get that sweet discount. That gorgeous like 30-point discount for taking only 2 in a unit instead of 3. Plus another unit of 2 broadsides. Now, these guys are running heavy rail rifles, not missile systems. And I think the missile systems are only good if you are committing to give the +1 AP strat to the broadsides, which is kind of why they got upcosted, I think, because they actually had pretty appreciable damage if you took 3 of them in a unit. But then you were incentivized to take like only 3 and basically never touch the 1 or 2 man squads. But giving them a points discount on the smaller squads is definitely technology I wish Games Workshop would use elsewhere in the game. But it's pretty interesting anyway. This is lower attack volume, but obviously is going to force people to play around the long range guns. It's enough damage that you can't walk into it from super long. Whereas Riptide battlesuits you can maybe just sort of tank if they aren't like rolling their 5-ups or lethal hits quite a bit. The broadside battlesuits being high strength, they're going to force you to jump into cover, and then you can get locked in there with the Devilfish on turn 1 by scouting up with Strike Swiftly. It's actually, I guess what, it's a little funny. There's 3 Devilfish and 3 Breacher teams, right? Am I crazy with that? 1, 2, 3 Breacher teams. So the Strike Swiftly guy has to start on the table, and I don't know who embarks into the 3rd Devilfish. It might be the Pathfinders. You can't embark stealth battlesuits, I assume, right? I actually don't know that that's the case. Because you need this Strike Swiftly dude to start on the table, and in order for his thing to work. So you need something else to jump in there. Yeah, I cannot transport battlesuit units. So no stealth battlesuits inside the inside the Devilfish. So it might just be the Pathfinders, which is a little bit sad because the Pathfinders getting that like super duper forward operation is really cool. But at least they are getting Scout sort of innately, because from the embarked unit. Anyway. Yeah, so that's everything. It's not the predominance of Adeptus Sororitas. I guess we also have Agent X's Space Wolves in here. Agent X is Space Wolves Chad. Absolutely loves Space Wolves. So he's running Champions of Rust today. He said it was to give the audience a good show. So hopefully Agent X's games are incredibly fun. He's running 1,000,000,000,000 characters. Double character dreadnoughts. We have Bjorn the Fell-Handed, and we have Murderfang. Big question is, do we have a Calidus Assassin? Are we doubling up on Lord of Deceidoras? It doesn't look like we are. But Bjorn the Fell-Handed, I think, is one of the best applicators of Lord of Deceit. He's a little bit slow, which is a little unfortunate for him, but he's super hard to kill. He's got damage reduction and a Feel No Pain baked in on a base 2+ save that you can Armor of Contempt. So this dude, like, he's not going anywhere fast, and he can just run up the table, tank Overwatch or whatever, and then project the CP cost increase on like wherever he wants to on the table. Which is going to be absolutely huge. Not to mention the fact that a lot of things can't like use offensive stratagems against him because he's also going to upcharge those. So he's it's just a pain in the ass to get rid of. We have a Judiciary, so we have a little bit of counter charge fights first if people get too spicy into the brick over here. A Footlogan Grimnar, Ragnar Blackbane, and Ulrich the Slayer. Ulrich the Slayer, I have a Patreon video where I talk about Ulrich the Slayer, but he's actually, I think, underrated in the faction. He gives you full hit and wound rerolls against a single monster or character or vehicle, which is like 90% of the game. That's in engagement range of his unit at the start of the fight phase. So, like, he just picks someone he's fighting and this whole unit gets full rerolls against them. It's kind of nutty. The only awkward part is that he doesn't have good attachments. He can attach into Blood Claws, which I think is good. Maybe we're taking Wolfguard with him, actually. That's kind of spicy. But we also have Ragnar Blackman, who's also another sort of incredible attachment into these big Assault Intercessor squads. He can get wound rerolls from them, and then they get advance and charge from him. So they work together very synergistically. And he has 1,000,000 high-value attacks. So he's getting wound rerolls, and that dude is absolutely ludicrous. Hey, Agent X is in the chat. What's up, dude? How's it going? Orlik is on the Wolfguard? All right. Yeah, makes sense to me. Designed the list for the anti-sister meta. Was placed in a group with no sisters and no Blood Angels. Oh, you were trying to play against Blood Angels? You were not trying to play against sisters? That's unfortunate. Ripperonis. Womp. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I guess, like, Bjorn is not the biggest deal against sisters, right? He is, especially against Bringers of Flame, whichever one's going to be, because they're going to get +1 strength and high AP and just like sort of punch through him, and they're not really reliant on stratagems to kill him outside of the Seraphim squad, but they just won't do that. They're going to, I guess, try to kill him with Meltas, which he is a little defensive against, but it's not the best thing ever. And then the rest of the list is 1 repulsor. So we're using that new repulsor transport capacity, that newfound 16-man transport capacity. Plus a Land Raider Redeemer. Inky's here. Inky, you want to come hang out on stream? Come on up, baby girl. Maybe not. Punchers change depending on how long the mobile bunkers live. Yeah, that's the big question. They are so good at killing heavy targets though right now, especially with the. They can essentially source like +2 AP from the Immolator and Castigators, and then I guess we're talking about sisters, so we can talk about sisters. And then just like sort of punch through that with high AP stuff. So high armor save stuff just gets kind of yeeted into the sun. So this is Ash, current season frontrunner, running Bringers of the Flame. She's got double Dialogus. This cat. Come here, kitty. Oh, she doesn't want to. Come on. Come on. There you go. Double Dialogus plus a Righteous Rage Palatine. Morven Val and St. Celestine. Plus the Triumph of St. Catherine, as is to be expected. So no, we're not running Flamer Seraphim in this unit. Oh, no, maybe we are. We are, but I think it's with Celestine. Because there is a 10-model Seraphim squad with double hand Flamers. So we can run Celestine to make them harder to kill, and she adds one more Flamer, but she doesn't add the same level of volume as the Jump Canoness does. Which, yeah, we didn't send Hyrule away. Yeah, I was a little sad for sure. They were kind of like the redheaded stepchildren of the Tyranid faction, though. They were like, you're paying Knight. They were always, I don't know. They were like always a little overcosted for what they did, because it felt like GW wanted to position them as like the Tyranid Knights, but they never did as much as a Knight, but always got costed similarly, which I think was always kind of a problem. They never got put into the sort of correct like weight bracket, I guess, was the issue. And they didn't have any support effect, really. Like the new barbed Hyrule gave you like plus, like minus with a hit, I think, right? Like slowed, or it suppressed you. But like you couldn't sort of compare them to like a Land Raider, because they didn't like deliver anybody. They were just a big dude with a gun, and they always got upcharged for no reason. I don't know. It's a little bit weird. But yeah, then we're running a singleton of Paragon War Suits for Morven Val to jump into, plus 2 Immolators, triple Castigators for the backline shooting. So just taking the midboard with Seraphim squads and Dominions, and running the backline with 1,000,000 Castigators, which are so efficient shooting. Incredible. It rules that were meant for Legends. They were destined. They were destined to join the Legends. But that's the Invitational chat. I'm excited for this season. I think it's going to be interesting, and a lot of people are. I think there's some sort of unique strategies that are going to come to fruition thanks to the fact that we're playing in an entirely new format, which I think is going to be cool. So yeah, you can see the schedule on the website. tts40k.com/invitational is where all the information will be at. I'm going to be streaming the games that I will be around for over on Twitch. So twitch.tv/TacticalTortoise is going to be the place to go for those. And on top of that, the elimination stage games are going to be streamed over on youtube.com/TacticalTortoise. So, are going to be streamed on this channel. The VODs will be put on the Tactical Tortoise TV channel as soon as they can. But the finals games will get streamed here. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. But anyway, gents, should we dive into some lists? Some Pariah Nexus stuff? It was a pretty interesting breakdown from this weekend. Lots of smaller events went down. Oh, I looked for this weekend instead of last weekend. Which I think is, I don't know, it's interesting because it's definitely gives us a broader look if we're looking at a bunch of kind of like regularly sized GTs rather than the one or two big ones, because I think those tend to get highly, what's the word? They get kind of biased based on the location that they're playing in, because you will see, and we kind of watched this happen a little bit, where we saw local metagames like have a disproportionate effect on what the metagame looked like. So we were seeing like, you know, UK events get like reamed by Necrons and stuff, which definitely seems like what the UK has been doing for a while. So it's interesting, I think, to get a broader spectrum, because then we start to see like the really weird stuff start to win, like Tiger Sharks and Death Guard doing well, for example, which is I think in the grand scheme, right, looking at the whole game holistically, is a little bit more representational. Hoping to see more Eldari lists come out. What's up, everybody? How's it going in chat? Yeah, Eldari's in an interesting place. It sounds like, at least talking to some folks, it sounds like that if sisters are problematic, then Eldar could potentially be a counter to them. I don't know how much validity that has, but I have heard that kind of that sentiment repeated a couple different times. Mostly because Eldar have like really high value like some small units, and sisters are really good at just vaporizing big stuff, right? They can combo out like ignore cover, +1 AP, a bunch of 6s on melta guns, you know, full hit rerolls with Morven Ball and all this stuff, and just yeet like a knight into the stratosphere. But they have a tougher time doing that to like 5 or 6 little 5-man units if all of those 5-man units are also like equally dangerous. So we'll have to see. I do think that Sisters Overwatch is like really dangerous. One thing that I don't think gets sort of discussed enough is like how dangerous Morven Ball's unit is firing an Overwatch, and being able to kill 5 model utility units with that unit multiple times per turn or per round is a little scary, but we'll see. People need to get ready to play aircraft. Ooh, some aircraft technology going down. Any predictions on what the lowest win rate army this season will be? Lowest win rate. I'm gonna say vanilla Space Marines. I'm gonna say vanilla Space Marines, and I'm gonna look at stat check and see what the thing says. Brian X's 1.0 has Space Marines and Black Templars as lowest. Nailed it. Space Marines. So Space Marines got nerfed, which was a little surprising, because it felt like, first of all, they nerfed the Gladiator Valiant, which I think was supposed to be the Lancer, but they nerfed like units that you never took, which is bizarre. And I think they forgot which Gladiator was the good one. But they're having a uniquely Space Marine problem, which is that the army is really good out in the non-compliant chapters. So Space Wolves, Blood Angels. This is specifically only So this is the last like 2 weeks or so. Space Wolves, Blood Angels are solid. I wonder if this will remain. I wonder how many events use the updated points values, because I know there were a couple that didn't, and Space Wolves did really well. So this number might drop. Although some folks are saying that the Champions of Rest buffs were huge, and Champions of Rest might be good now. I have no idea. Blood Angels also being incredibly strong, but the problem is that they can bring stuff from vanilla Space Marines. And so in order to nerf those factions, vanilla Space Marine stuff got nerfed, which just further nerfed Space Marines. And Space Marines already, I think, have a lower than is representational win rate. They tend to be so widely played. Yeah, there are double Space Marine games played than, say, like actual Space Wolves. Blood Angels have a pretty high play rate. But there are almost as many Space Marine games played as the top 2 Space Marine out non-compliant sub-factions combined. And that kind of drives your win rate down a little bit, because you're not being championed by like the metagame frontrunners. So the people who are playing Space Marines are like kind of, of average skill rate, I would say. And tend to drive the at least when their faction's not good, I'll say that, they tend to drive the win rate even further down, which is not necessarily the case for other factions. Whereas like if a faction is not doing well, a lot of times the only people playing them are very, very skilled at that faction, and their win rate tends to inflate instead. So I don't know. Yeah, I think Space Marines are in a tough spot currently. I'm curious about this Black Templars, like all the way down here in the drums. Maybe were they really bullied by Ironstorm that much? I feel like Black Templars are better than that. FAQ nerfed Murderfang took the Biologist Aggressor combo away from Space Wolves. And also, I mean, I think the biggest debuffs were to Stormlands, right? Were to the Stormlands builds where you had Wolfen and Thunderwolf Cav like a million times. Which, to be fair, too spammy. and I think that it's okay that that list got nerfed. I am curious to see what is winning the Space Wolves, though. Because I don't know if we had any actual Ws, but the... they probably did well X and 1. Looking at this, it's actually interesting to see Tyrann as a dead 50. That's so curious. That feels totally correct to me. I played a tournament over the weekend, by the way, chats. I played some Vanguard Onslaught. What if I can pull up my photo? I took pictures, and I had a very disappointing round 3. It was kind of a wild ride. We can talk about my Tyranid experience momentarily, I guess. I kind of rushed this army together, so only half of it was painted. Fortunately, the RTTs in my area don't require painting to get the battle ready points. They just get additional prizes if you're painted, which I appreciate because it lets you be more flexible. So you actually play like more representational lists, and the practice is better. But I played double Moloch, triple Execrant, and then double melee warriors. And I think it was pretty good. The melee warriors were definitely they were huge. They were super good. Melee warriors and lictors feel like the best things in Tyranids right now. The Molochs were kind of mid. I had better... I think it was maybe the matchups that I played, but I had really good success with Molochs online. But the matchups that I played against them with in this event were not amazing. So I played a Renegade Raiders round 1. My opponent pushed up really aggressively. He put a Legionary unit like a 10-man Legionary unit from his Land Raider into my deployment zone, basically, on turn 1, because he got overwhelming force. I did make a mistake. I committed a Hormagod squad to score area denial, and forgetting that I had a Spore Mine and my stupid Biobore in the back. I could have just done it with a Spore Mine. I was like, oh, that's dumb. So I lost a whole Hormagod squad for nothing. He pushed a Legionary squad, kills my other Hormagod squad, and I counterpunched and killed all that stuff. The Land Raider took another turn to kill, but eventually went down to Exocrines, like plinking it, and Warriors eventually. And then we kind of toilet bowled in the middle, and the second Warrior squad sort of cleaned up. The melee Warriors are real strong. They're very good. This is a gorgeous Chaos Knights army that was standing next to me. I played against Adeptus Sororitas round 2, Bringers of Flame, and this was a spicy game. It kind of went all over the place with the dice. Early game, I drew no prisoners. This is my opponent's Miracle Pool at one point, though. Nerf Triumph of St. Catherine, please. At one point, a Sisters Novitiate squad, or my opponent went first and deployed a Sisters Novitiate squad across the middle of the table, and I drew no prisoners, I think, on turn 1. And so I was like, okay, I just got to kill that Sisters Novitiate squad. The math is with a single Hormigant unit that they do not kill 10 Sister Novitiates by themselves. So I fired a single Exocrine shot at them to try to get them to like 6 models or 8 models, which I think is about average. The Exocrine shot averages, it was +2 for blast, so it's shooting 8 times, probably hits 5. 6 if you're lucky, I guess. And then wins 5, and then they save like 1. So I should kill 4 or something. And I killed like 8 or 7, I think. And I pulled them out of charge range, and then he rolled like almost max hits, all hits, all wounds, very few saves. Killed most of the unit, and then the Hormagods filled their charge. So I just lost the Hormagont unit and didn't score any points the first turn for no reason, which made me sad. Eventually my opponent pushed a Cascador super far forward. I was able to use reactive moves to get everything out of line of sight. It fired into a Warrior squad, did very little damage, which was a little bit unfortunate, and the Warriors killed it. And then I had done some little sort of plink damage to... There's 2 Paragon Warsuit units in the center. I'd done some plink damage to them and put 2 Paragons kind of low and rapid ingressed a... Moloch to kill both of them on my opponent's turn. But my opponent decided, it was like 11.5 inches away from Morven Ball's unit. My opponent decided to, with this insane fucking Miracle Pool, and the +1 to charge from the Triumph, Miracle a charge into the Moloch and kill it with Morven. But that put Morven here, where all these Warriors were. And then she just got by the Warriors. And I was like, I don't know how much I like that play. To be fair, I did kill 2 Paragon Warsuits with the Flamer from the Nero Tyrant, which was not standard. That is not normal. That should not happen. Unfortunately, I couldn't really kill anything in the top here. The Tyrant got killed by Melty Guns. But I was able to contest this objective and sort of push the line of scrimmage to have lictors hold these objectives for long enough that I was able to eventually win on scenario. I also had a wild, the second Paragon Warsuit unit actually tried to charge a warrior squad. I surprised assaulted it just to see if I could, because I think I had a free strat floating from the Hive Tyrant. I surprised assaulted it. It failed the battle shock check, and because the Neurolictor was standing nearby, got -1 to hit, missed all their attacks, didn't do anything, and then because the warriors were +1 to wound, they killed the entire Paragon Warsuit squad. So I got a Paragon. I got both Paragon Warsuits kind of for free though, which is a little bit non-standard. Final game I played against Drew Salzborn, who's Ill-Taper Fireblade in the chat if he's there. Hey, there he is. He's in the chat. It was incredibly strong Votan player. And pushed super far forward with some warriors on turn 1, and I killed a land fortress. The land fortresses were kind of the problem. I sort of identified that if I killed the land fortresses, I was probably okay. So I took any opportunity I had to just sort of blow them up. So I sent a warrior squad in and killed 1 land fortress. 2 land fortresses pushed into the center, and I was like sort of constantly battle shocking them with surprise assault, like random surprise assaults and the Moloch drops. And I sent a warrior squad in to kill a land fortress that was sitting right in the middle that was empty. They rolled. They moved up to like sort of next to the objective to charge it. An in here Hearthguard unit, this big 10-man brick, rapid ingress behind the land fortress, and I rolled exactly enough to not be able to pull out of their their heroic intervention range. I rolled a 10 on my charge. If I'd rolled a 9, I could have kept my guys outside 6 inches really easily. But a 10 put it so that the models in the edges would have had to base. I had no way to block them from basing. And I had a CP floating, and I figured I needed it for surprise assault to actually kill the Hecaton. But I probably should have rerolled it to get a shorter charge, because I think the charge was like a 4. And it was just unfortunate. So they got heroically intervened. They got one shot by, I think, only the hammers in the unit. They didn't even need the rest of the attacks. And it was all kind of downhill from there. And then the Hive Tyrant went in on the unit up that was up here. I think that I should have shot this unit a little bit more, but I flamered them with the Neuro Tyrant, did no damage. And then the Hive Tyrant charged them and also did no damage, and then got killed by the champion. So I don't know if that was entirely average. I probably should have killed a couple more guys and then not just basically died to a single character. But yeah, that sort of ended things, unfortunately. That ended my run, but it was a good run while it lasted. But Tyranids definitely, that 50% position for them definitely feels correct, because they seem utterly mediocre. They went from being, I think, like basically stone unplayable to being just fine. They have, like, their combos are really cool, but they're highly inconsistent. If you want to play a faction with consistency, Tyranids are not for you. And yeah, I don't know. They definitely seem like they're real middle of the pack energy for sure. The land fortresses failed at every battle shock check. Is that right? I think they made one, right? They made one because you were like, hey, I can make one battle shock check. But they did fail like 3 in a row, which was very nice. I appreciated that. I was thinking after that game, I was like, I think that the play for Tyranids may be to really focus on the shooting and the melee warriors are like where it's at, and like the skirmishy units. But they really need battle shock to be consistent. I was wondering if there's like a list that's like triple warriors, triple exocrine, like 2 neurolictors, and then 1 to 2 screamer killers. Then you just play that basically, and then like you have utility to like fight over the midboard and do chicanery, but you have enough screamer killers that you can hopefully battle shock whatever comes into the center and then counter hit it with the warriors. I don't know if that's the play, but I don't know. It's maybe considering. But I'll think about it. I don't know. Morvenn Vahl really good kill tonight in shooting phase with her in the Paragon where she's charging armature killed in the fight phase. Sounds about right, yeah. Morvenn Vahl, I think, is too strong, in my opinion. I know her unit is expensive. I think it's like 370 points now or something. But what I don't like is that they took a unit that was already like incredibly, she's 160 and I think the unit's 220, so 380, is that right? The unit is 210, so 370. No, yeah, I was right the first time. But they took a unit that was already really, like, had incredibly strong damage output and just doubled down. So they're so good at killing monsters and vehicles that it's like you just can't let Morven Vault get line of sight to a monster. The number of times I've lost like an entire monster to only Morven Vault, like the Paragons can be out of range, or just shoot their stupid fucking like Storm Bolters and be like, well, I'm +1 to hit and wound, full rerolls, AP 1, ignore cover because of all the other shit in the army. And suddenly, like, 6 Stormbolter shots are doing, like, legitimate damage. And then Morven Vault shoots you for, like, 10 damage with her Bolter alone and then puts 2 rockets into you. I think it's too good, in my opinion. I would rather them be cheaper and be less, like, universally strong. I don't know. But that's just my opinion. And I think I'm biased because I play, like, nothing but monsters. But it definitely is, like, a little bit annoying to just have this unit that's, you know, could kill... whatever, any infinite numbers of points of vehicles. Who's Bringers of the Flame? You just feel bad for your opponents as they play Knights? Yeah. That is kind of what, that's the vibe I've been getting from Sisters players so far, is that Knights is like a real easy street. Alright, let's talk about some freaking events, chat. One thing that I didn't cover is the New Zealand Team Championship. And with ATC coming around the corner, I think it's interesting to talk about some strong team compositions. The Mighty Cucks was the #1 placer. Why is everyone a cuck in New Zealand? Is New Zealand just famous for cuckery over here? Are y'all just watching your wives like fuck other guys? What the hell? So the #1 placer to Chaos Knights, Chaos Space Marines, Adeptus Sororitas, Leagues of Votan, Blood Angels. What a composition. That's so wild. So this is a 5-person team event. Matt Morris early on Chaos Space Marines is probably going to do pretty well regardless. Running Renegade Raiders with Huron Blackheart, Mark of the Hound Chaos Lord, and Master of Execution. So a ton of scouting. Cultist Mob, Legionaries. Hey, thanks for the Twitch follows. Apologize that I double played there. 1, 2, 3, 4 Legionaries, 2 Chaos Rhinos, 2 Biker Squads, single Vindicator, a 10-man Chosen, hot diggity damn, and a 10-man Warp Talons. Just to make sure that they can one-shot whatever they charge, because they have to have killed something now with the new updates, and then Rubric Marines as the follow-up. Feels like kind of like sort of stock standard Renegade Raiders energy. The Rubric Marines are pretty interesting in Renegade Raiders. It feels, I don't know, it feels funny to double down on the ability, on like getting additional damage against enemies on objectives, because they do so much damage. These little Rubric units are so scary because they're firing full reroll rending flamers with AP bonus. So they're ignore cover, AP 3 most of the time. They also have 6 devastating shots between the Soul Reaper Cannon and the Inspiring Sorcerer. So when they get wound rerolls, this unit hits so fucking hard for 105 points. But if you just don't touch the objective, then their damage output like drops exponentially. It goes from like killing the universe to being like, I can crush a grape, which is so funny. But it's probably still fine because the situation, like, it's not enough of a points investment that the situations where they aren't doing insano damage, you're probably just not committing them, and you're not really losing that much. And it's not like they're like worthless. They're fine if they're shooting at other stuff. But it's so funny to have like the double down on on the objective synergies. Oh my god. Chaos Knights. Ben Clark looks like just running a billion War Dogs. I think that's probably going to be the case for team events in the foreseeable future. Hey, Blue Horrors as the allied unit. That's kind of fun. they can at least do actions, which is cool, and they don't require another attachment in order to get to unlock them. Because we have seen in the past, like demonettes plus like seekers or something, because you need the demonettes to unlock the other demon units. But that's a little bit more of a skew, which I think definitely helps the team event format. Got some Leagues of Votann here. A Brokir Ironmaster, a Grim Demeanor Call, plus double Hearthkin Warriors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Sagitors. Okay. We're going scouting today, everybody. 3 Chthonian Berserks to jump into those. A big 10-mana Von here Hearthguard, Hernkin Pioneers, more Hernkin Pioneers, more Hernkin Pioneers. That's 12 Hernkin Pioneers plus a Jaeger unit. Yeah. So the Jaegers, I think I mentioned this in my video yesterday. The Jaegers are really good because they can take real estate for the Pioneers. So the problem with the Pioneers is that previously Votann had no infiltration, but they had infinite scout. So the counterplay was that you took like 5 Space Marine scouts and you just put them in front of their Pioneers, and they couldn't go anywhere. But now, if the Jaegers win the roll-off, the Jaegers can screen out the position where you would try to stop the Pioneers from moving. And the Jaegers are also not that, like, they're not immediately dead if they deploy aggressively because they have a reactive move, so they can jump back into cover if they need to. So you can drop them out like right in front of your opponent's army to stop them from counter deploying your Pioneers, and then you get to take a bunch of table space with the Pioneers. So you get to throw between 6 and 12 Hernkin Pioneers like directly up the table, pin your opponent into their deployment zone, and stop them from moving up the table. And that opens up additional space for the Einhir Hearthguard to take table space. So this list is like ludicrously aggressive. It's going to throw all of these scouting units at you, and even if you can deal with the scouting units, you're unlikely to be able to take enough board space to stop you from getting absolutely vaporized by these dudes. Not to mention the fact that you have to skirmish with like some of the better skirmishing units in the game, like Sagittors, especially when Judgment Tokens start getting put down, and carrying Chthonian Berserks into the fight it's 2 individual units that are both like pretty hard to kill and hit incredibly hard, especially for their points value in either melee or shooting. So that list rules. I think Hernkin Jaegers are like such a transformative inclusion for Leagues of Votann. I wish we got more like meta shifts like that, because I think it would make the game more interesting. It's like a little bit of a downside that factions get totally revamped. I'm getting on my soapbox a little bit about I'll like shake my fist at clouds about Codex release cycle. Codex release cycle, why? But it's so interesting that you can add 1 unit into a faction, and it like so changes how the faction can play, that I wish we saw it more often. And maybe, like, you know, I don't think that Games Workshop really has the forethought to like sort of meta, so kind of like format design like that. You know, they're not Magic the Gathering. They don't care so much. But it's cool. And I like it. It would be cool to see like, and I know that the design process takes a million years, and so they can't do it reactively in order to like change factions. That's why they're relying on data slates and balance updates. But it would be cool to see, like, I don't know, you know, we're seeing Space Marines really, really struggling. Like maybe a new Space Marine inclusion, like midway through the season, actually changes them. Although we did see that last edition with Desolation Squad, so maybe it's coming back. I don't know, but it is cool. I do like it, and I wish we saw more of it. Happy for Thousand Suns players. If you had to do that much thinking in your army not be good, you would rarely play 40k. Yeah. You just have to like, yeah, put in so much brain power into being mediocre. That's like that's the Gene Stealer cult, like the perennial Gene Stealer cult problem is that you play the game's most complicated, difficult faction, and 90% of the time it's just worse than like playing Tactical Marines. It's like you put all this brain power into executing a combo that doesn't do anything. But yeah, at least Thousand Suns can kill God, you know. At least there's that. If the stars align and they play perfectly. It also it's kind of like I guess it's a double-edged sword, but it's kind of heartening to play Thousand Sons because a lot of times it feels like it's your own fault when you lose, which sometimes you do get diced and it just happens. Or the mission's bad or whatever. But like, a lot of times you're like, oh wait, no, if I had done these rituals in a different order, actually I would have won that game. And then, so to some extent, like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? But the faction is also so complicated that getting every single decision right every time is very difficult. But I don't know. I appreciate losses that I can come away from and be like, I know what I did wrong. Next time I won't do that. I'll be better. I appreciate the iteration process, which I think is why I like Thousand Sons so much. This is how we get 100 more lieutenants. We'll give lieutenants to every faction. You know what I'm saying? Why is it always Space Marine lieutenants? Let's give us a freaking Eldar lieutenant or something. An autarch trainee who's just a little guy, but he has a really cool support effect that like is really important. Jaeger's so good. Got put into Jaeger jail as Custodes. Could not get out of your deployment going second. That is unfortunate. Yeah, I do think that infiltrators might be like really important this season. There's also like there's so much scouting right now. Like Votan's doing it, Tau is doing it. Well, there's two, I guess. Those are the two big ones. But Tau's fucking Dominion squads. Dummy. Dominion squads and immolators running up the table is really important too. Although Sisters also just got on infiltrators, so they're also just having a great time with that one. Which is sad. So I do think infiltration is probably very important right now to prevent scouts from just destroying you on turn one. Give Sisters lieutenants? They have one. They literally have one. Give AdMech named characters. That'd be cool. Let's get AdMech some characters that make Skitarii not like just the silliest thing in the world. Did you jump something for GeoSeer to get the Quinn treatment come 12th edition? I mean, at least Genestealer Cult is like a whole miniature range, but I think that it's and Games Workshop tends to have these issues where because they refuse to move off of the core system that they're already playing, like they treat 40k like chess basically, where essentially like the core rules don't change for hundreds of years. As much as people complain about the core rules changes in 40k, like, oh, line of sight changes this edition, I can never keep track. The actual core concepts have basically stayed the same since Rogue Trader, right? There's like new missions and format rules and list building and that stuff has changed. But if you were to take the core gameplay mechanics from way back from the 80s and then look at a game today, it would not be unrecognizable. You would probably pick it up fairly quickly if you had only experienced Rogue Trader. Which means that there are factions that simply naturally fit better with the way the game works. Eldar is like a perfect example, right? Eldar is always like small elite units that are inexpensive but highly efficient have always been good in 40k. Movement has always been good in 40k. And Eldar are just like, hey, we're those two things put together. You're like, oh, okay. Cool. So there's always every single season, every single edition, there's always a period where Eldar are really good, like simply because of that. And I think Genestealer Cult have the opposite problem, where they have these huge units that are I don't want to say inefficient, but like independently ineffectual and very low statted, right? They have really inconsistent attack statistics and really poor defensive statistics. And it's so bad. It's just not what 40k is designed for. 40k is designed for units of 5 Space Marines to fight each other, like in a bunch of different places of the table. And having these big bricks of 20 guys that like teleport around or whatever is just like kind of incompatible with how the game plays, which is why they're always either way too strong or literally unplayable. And it just sucks, I don't know, do better. Tyranid still need a leader for Hormagaunts. I was surprised, that the Tyranid Prime can't jump into more units. Like, if Hormagaunts feels like a natural inclusion for that guy, because he's almost the same speed as them and gives them sustained hits, which is pretty nice. But I would like to see even just like a Gaunt, I don't know, a Cinegaunt or something. It's just a big synapse guy, a big synapse gaunt who can join units would be cool. Remember when every single melee weapon had its own initiative value and fight order? I don't remember that personally, but I do remember units, like models, having an initiative value. And to be fair, I do appreciate that initiative is gone. Initiative was stupid. But also, initiative was from a time where the melee damage output of units was like atrociously bad. So a lot of times it only mattered for sweeping advances, which is another bad mechanic. I'm glad that one's gone. So you would be like, aha, my Space Marines out initiative, your guardsmen. But then the Space Marines would be like 1 attack, strength 4. Their AP didn't exist, so they'd be like, kill like 2 guardsmen. And then the guardsmen would fight back and kill 1/3 of 1 Space Marine. And you're like, what a time. This is so fun. We're having a great time. Leader for Warhammer said increase AP by 1. Space Marines couldn't die in a sweep. Oh, because they shall know no fear. That was a wild ability. What a time to be. What a trip down memory lane. I just remember that one of my local play group had like a Chaos Space Marine player and had a Necron player. And I played Tyranids, and Gene Stealers were so busted because they're initiative 6 and like actually good in melee. They're like 4 attacks rending, and they advanced in charge. They were super dumb. They were like ludicrously overpowered. And I would play against this poor Necron player and charge like 5 Gene Stealers into any number of Necrons. And the Necrons would do nothing, and the Gene Stealers would kill some number of Necrons. The Necrons would fail their leadership, and then it automatically died of the sweeping advance because their initiative was so shitty. And so, like, 5 Gene Stealers would just pile into like 20 Necron warriors and just kill the entire unit. It was not good. It was not a good mechanic. Necrons in 3rd were wildly broken? Yeah. But it was funny because folks don't know how good they have it nowadays. Back in my day, when I was a little tyke playing 40k on my kitchen table, you could go multiple editions without getting a codex update. Necrons got a codex in 3rd edition, and then skipped the entirety of 4th edition, and only got a new codex at the end of 5th edition. Necrons went almost 10 years without getting an updated codex. And at the point that their codex finally got updated, they were so dog shit that rule, like I think most playgroups discarded that rule because it was so bad. It was, that faction was like stone cold unplayable by the time they got updated. They were absolutely terrible. It was brutal. Anyway, chance, that's a little trip down memory lane. Multi-charge kill off the champion at the other unit would break and run because of casualties. I don't know if my playgroup was appropriately skilled enough to actually like bubble wrap. So we never actually like got multiple charges off. We were little baby boys. I think I might have some like really old 40k battle reports from when I was like 15 on this channel. If you scroll back far enough, you could probably find some old battle reports on here, where you saw the immaculate level of play that we were showcasing. Sweeping advance is sober. But the sweeping advance thing was anti-nid tactics, but Tyranids were fearless, right? If they had synapse range, which was like the fucking whole table. Synapse range was huge. It was like 24 inches from a hive tire, I remember. But also the tables were bigger and the armies were smaller, so it actually didn't feel quite as big. Which I also think that meant they couldn't They could never leave combat. I think Fearless had a downside. I forget what it was. Oh, they just lost casualties if you lost the fight. You didn't roll a sweeping advance. You just extra guys died. I remember that now. But also you have to like fight Tyranids in melee. I don't know. Tyranids were like so fucking ludicrous in melee, and in like 4th and 5th edition, it was insane. You could shoot the fuck out of them and they would die, but like, oh my god. A Carnifex would kill literally anything in the game. It was crazy. What a time. What a time to be alive. I remember like as soon as a monstrous creature touched any vehicle, it immediately died. It almost didn't matter which the vehicles were. You were like strength 9 and you rolled 2d6 for armor penetration. So you had to roll like a 2d6 6 for with each attack to roll on the penetration table. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. And yeah, I think you counted as AP 0 as long as you had a melee weapon. Or yeah, AP dash or whatever. The AP where you got a bonus on armor penetration rolls. That was really stupid. Let's talk about some lists. We got some Adeptus Custodes here. So this is the Tormenta de Hostias, which I think is the right pronunciation. I looked it up when I recorded my video yesterday. We got some Adeptus Custodes. Aaron Wilson. His list is called Fly My Pretties, which makes me think that we're going to see a ton of Venatari. 1, 2, 3 Venatari Custodians. The Great Centauri Republic. Double Witch Seekers for utility. Calidus Assassin for Lord of Deceit. Double Caladius Grav Tank. Double Alaris Custodians. Double Custodian Guards with 1 Blade Champion in Shield Host. This list is fucking aggressive as hell. Holy shit. So Panopta specs on the Blade Champion, so he gives us unit ignore cover. We don't have any Kyria Draxus, so the second Custodian Guard squad is just chilling, but that's fine. But we could potentially, right, top 2, we could uppy downy both Custodians units and rapid ingress all the Venatari. So you could drop 15 Custodian Guard on your opponent, top of 2, which is kind of lethal, especially because they get their new all game shield host abilities, which is very nice. And then you're backing that up with pretty solid shooting from the grab tanks anyway. It's kind of spicy. Was that a Babylon 5 reference? Of course. If you think that the Custodian Guard are not Londo Malari's guys, then you're a crazy person. Every time I see somebody play Venatari Custodians, I always imagine that it's in his silly Italian accent. Dread Tarpit days. Oh my god, the stupid Dread Tarpits. Yeah, you always rolled against vehicle's armor value unless they were a walker, and then they could spin. They could spin to. You rolled against their rear armor value, but the walker could always spin to face you, and so you would always roll against their front armor value. I remember getting like 20 Hormigons just engaged by one Dreadnought one time, and I was like, well, I can't damage you, you can't kill me before the end of the game, so. Then you want to just call this one a draw? Neither of these units will contribute to the game in the future. And the weirdest part is that they were like the same points value too. A Dreadnought was like 110 points or something, and 20 Hormigons was like, they were like 5 points each, and then you like bought an upgrade, so they're like 120. So you just paid to basically neutralize each other's unit. And speaking of, actually, let's look at Black Templars here. Speaking of Black Templars, Ferran Bayeri, 4-1 with Black Templars, a faction that we have just determined is currently, mathematically, the worst army in 40k. I know, Inky, it's so cool. He's running a Gladius Task Force, the Fire Discipline combo, an Honor Vehement Captain, and Heimarscher Helbrecht plus an Emperor's Champion. We've got 2 Assault Intercessor squads, alongside a Jump Pack Intercessor squad, another one for utility stuff, 1 repulsor, an eradicator squad, infiltrator squad, sword brethren. So interesting. I guess the repulsor could have brought the big the Gravis like combo units, right? Because it was a 14 transport capacity previously. I want to say it was 14. Might have been 12 actually. I guess I have the index. We can look at the index. But 14 means that you can actually bring the fire discipline combo aggressor teams inside the repulsor. If you're not charging out of them, which you definitely don't need to with the stupid eradicator team, then it's actually not that big of a deal if you don't have an assault ramp. Hello, baby. Where's the OG repulsor entry? This is an unedited, unupdated copy of the index. Is it just gone? No, there it goes. It was 12. So you could not fit the fire discipline teams inside, but you can now. That is a new lease on life for the old repulsor there, especially because the eradicator squad is so good with this ability. The aggressor squad, less exciting, because a lot of times you're just going to punch people to death anyway. But the eradicator squad is so good with that. So, yeah, I wonder if that's transformative. We've also got double sword brethren. The Calidus assassins, a little order to seat action. I wonder who attaches to these units. The honestly, the Sword Brethren probably don't need character attachments. The Emperor's Children Champion might jump in. Helbrecht, I guess, doesn't really benefit anybody because I don't think anyone cares about critical hits in this attachment. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but you usually source those from the Templar Vows out in the Righteous Crusaders detachment, but in Gladius Task Force, he's just like a dude with a really good sword. Because I don't think that there's many critical hit effects in the detachment, but getting wound rerolls on the Assault Intercessors is good. And then the Captain with Honor Vehement is just always good on the Assault Intercessor squad. Seems good. I like it. I actually like the inclusion of the repulsor in this instance. I think I've been kind of lukewarm on the repulsor previously, but being able to ferry the Eradicator squad around is legitimately good. I think most of the time that thing just like reserves in. So often it's an Ultramarine inclusion because you want to be using it alongside all your Ventress. But being able to deposit it with a repulsor and actually fit the entire unit inside is pretty good. We got some Tyranids over here. Zavo, Melanero, Leskamarla is running Synaptic Nexus. He's got a Foot Hive Tyrant, no Synaptic Control, no enhancements at all, which is shocking. The enhancements in Synaptic Nexus are really good, but we have not taken any of them. Synaptic Control is a little bit expensive, but Power of the Hive Mind feels like a windmill slam. But I guess that we paid the full 2,000 for this list, so we didn't have any float points. We've got 30 Hormagaunts, 2 Lictors, 2 names Lictors, which I think is like a windmill slam. Not only do you get really solid infiltration, so you can block those scouts that we're talking about, but you also get like they're good utility units, and Lictors are actually legitimately good at fighting, especially like the sort of skirmishing stuff. You know, 5 Assault Intercessors jump into you, and a Lictor heroically intervening can actually just end their day, especially because you can sometimes do it for free with the Hive Tyrant nearby. We've got Neurogaunts, just a good solid inclusion. 1 Neurolictor for the +1 to wound, some Raveners, some Zoanthropes. think that should be 6 zoanthropes. It's 5 and a neurothrope. We just didn't copy pasta the neurothrope over. Plus double exocrine, double maleceptor, double screamer killer. You love to see it. Yeah, so I am wondering if the screamer killers are becoming a little bit more sort of necessary in Tyranids, just to force out of phase battle shock checks on people. Which it has additional synergy in Synaptic Nexus, because then you can force you can do the grenade stratagem to mortal wound people once they fail a battle shock. And the screamer killers are naturally a -1. Downside is that we don't have any other instances of -1, which is things start to get really consistent. But you can take the Dirt Chart of Karas for that, or you can take the Death Leaper. Both of them can run up to a unit, and then you can screamer killer them. But they are really expensive. I feel like that's maybe a problem with Tyranids, and if they would try to improve Tyranids sometime in the future, the way to go about it would be to reduce the points cost of their combo pieces. Because right now, right, you're paying a whole 100 points for a Lictor, and you might be paying 85 points for a Death Leaper and another 90 for a Dirt Chart. And all of those are kind of necessary, not to mention that you're taking Screamer Killers, which are kind of bad to begin with, in order to turn on your Battle Shock synergies, but that's like too many points, to be honest. Probably should not require the faction to spend like 500 points to basically use its army ability. There is some Eldar going down. Kuro La Orden. La Orden? Senores Phoenix. Oh, we're playing all the Phoenix Lords? Oh my god. Oh my god. That's rad. Azurman, an Avatar of Cain, Behareth, a Phoenix Gem Farseer, Fuegan, plus Janezar, Karandros, and Malgan Ra. So we got every Phoenix Lord together, plus an Avatar of Cain. That's sick. That's so rad. 3 Wave Serpents to carry them around in. And then each one gets an attachment unit. Dude, this list is hype. This list is so rad. Dark Reapers, Fire Dragons, Howling Banshees, Striking Scorpions, Swooping Hawks, Warp Spiders, even though we don't even have an Exarch for them. And they went 4-1, chat. This list is a meme. I love it. That's incredible. So we basically just like filled up. I guess we had like a shooting platform in Malgan Ra with the Dark Reapers. He's actually okay at shooting. He's not the greatest thing ever, but he's all right. And then just sort of gunboat around the table with Wave Serpents and the Avatar of Cain. That's pretty fun. Little Grey Knights here. Luis Hernandez. My cat's, I think, about to knock over some paint water here. Hey, baby. What are you doing? You gonna destroy my stream while I'm doing it? We're rocking a Brotherhood Tech Marine, Castle and Crow, a Nemesis Grandmaster with Sigil of Exigence, Nemesis Dread Knight with Inescapable Wrath, Double Strike Squad, 2 Interceptor Squads, 3 basic Nemesis Dread Knights plus a Purifier Squad for Castle and Crow. So this is basically just a regular Nemesis Dread Knight list. Basically, we forgot that there was a balanced data slate. We just didn't pay attention to the balanced data slate. Took all the stuff that got upcharged and just said it's fine. That stuff was good anyway. Good enough anyway. It's still worth taking. All right, chat. What else should we look at? Any other factions that we want to take a peek at? Let's hear some thoughts from people. What's going on, Cat? Whoa. We do have, like I mentioned before, a lot of smaller events that we could sort of peek into. There is a 4-1 Gene Stealer call from Dark Sphere. Niklas Ek went 4-1. GSC, the officially worst faction in the game. Do we dare look at their source, chat? Oh, Art of War's got a Pariah Nexus faction ranking. Did they rank GSC as the bottom? Oh, they did. Ripperonis. They rank them below Deathwatch. That is bold. I actually did not look at this. And Space Marines in A tier. And Blood Angels in S tier. I don't know. I don't know about all that. But, where's Drukhari? Drukhari's in B? Wild. That's crazy. That's funny, though. That's a little shade from Nicholas Eck over here. It's like, don't worry, guys. It's the worst faction in the game. How could I possibly win? Tap Tiger Shark, please. I looked at the Tiger Shark in my video yesterday. I'm not going to look at the Tiger Shark list again. But I do a whole video where I talked about Tiger Shark. Gene Stealer cults. So this is Ascension, Host of Ascension, so the new Ascension Day. Running double Abominants. The new Benefictus guy. Assassination Edict. What is that? Did they rename all their enhancements? That is kind of annoying. I don't have their new enhancements list. So I have actually no idea what that is. I don't know. Biophagus, Clamavus, Calormorph, Naxos, Primus with chink in their armor. I have no idea what these enhancements do now. Let's see. 2 auto pistol squads, 20 neophyte hybrids, another 20 neophyte hybrids, another 20 neophyte hybrids. Are we running double aberrants? No, just one. So we're running a singleton abominant, which does make sense. He's actually pretty good as a utility guy. 3 independent Achilles Ridge runners plus a hybrid metamorph squad, and 5 Pierce Range Gene Stealers for the forward operation. Because of their respawn, they're basically like one of those characters that you see sort of just running around by himself, and then they can drop him sort of aggressively, and he's probably not going to die in a single attack. So he also sort of acts as a little bit of a lone operative because people don't really want to dedicate shooting to a model that's not going to be removed from the table. Afterlife Hydra Carless are 80% the same and use 80% of their range, yeah. I think that's like, there's something to be said that post Sky Splinter Assault update, which to be fair was like huge for the faction. Post that update, I think there's something to be said for the internal balance of Drukhari. I do think that it's, speaking of Drukhari, we can take a peek. I do think that it is, what's the word? The detachments are not particularly balanced. Real Space Raid is like way worse than Sky Splinter. It sucks just basically not having a detachment ability, but you know, sometimes you just gotta play like that. But Sky Splinter Assault is really good, and the updates to Archons to let them like buff Incubi units and stuff has been incredibly strong. And I do think that the faction is definitely close to being top tier in Pariah Nexus for sure. Void Bombers getting more popular too. Yeah, did we play Void Bombers this list? And you can also see like there's a through line to Drukhari lists just based on how the faction was like designed. Like you see lots of Venoms and lots of Raiders, but that's basically how the entire index was written, was to use those units quite a bit. But you also see things like the Tantalus combo. And you see the big bombers like occasionally. I know Skari is a big proponent of taking the aircraft. This list, it looks like it's just taking a bunch of Scourges and stuff. Yeah. Triple Scourges, double Reavers, slept on, I think, Reavers, to be honest. Triple Incubi, double Mandrakes, 4 Venoms, 2 Raiders, and a bunch of infantry to join with the characters. So this is what I would consider to be like kind of standard, right? We have Archons for the Incubi squads. We're not even running a Nightmare Shroud. Who needs it? You just run the CP cost guy up in there, and your Overwatch costs 2 CP, and you're probably not going to do it. Plus, Lilith for the witches as well. And the Beastmaster just to pin people turn 1. Seems good. Yeah, Scari's killing it with the aircraft for sure. Yeah, definitely the fact that Mandrakes and Beastmasters, and I'm a little worried for the faction. We'll see how they end up when they get a codex, because I do think that a lot of that stuff is likely to get legended. Like, I don't know if the Court of the Archon will survive. I don't know if the Beastmaster will survive. Those like combo units that were real like 5th edition energy. I have a sneaking suspicion they might go to the way of the dodo. And if the faction doesn't get other stuff in an update, then they might be in trouble. But we'll see. But the fact that Mandrakes are already good, right? They're just like better Space Marine scouts essentially. They're like, I guess, easier to kill because they have less wounds, but they have an invuln save. They have their uppy downies better. They have like a devastating wound gun, which is sick. And they have such synergy with the Beastmaster that you get all of this table presence turn 1, which lets you set up all these transports for turn 2 disembark. And to be fair as well, I think now that they're at a point where the army is, and this might have been something that I think a lot of people, myself included, probably discounted at the beginning. Although Drukhari had really bad rules, but their faction was probably underpowered because of how strong transports are in 10th edition. And I think that if you were to make them as statistically powerful as another faction, with their focus on running like a trillion transports, I think Drukhari might have been really busted. If you had given them, a regular ass like detachment ability, for example. But being the faction focused on transports, in an edition where transports are stronger than they have ever been, a unit archetype that has already been good is incredibly strong in 10th edition, and Drukhari have the best ones. And so you're already like you're set up for success from the get-go. Mandrake's definitely sticking around, 100%. Yeah. But yeah, it is weird that like every Beastmaster unit you see is like probably third party, because the unit essentially doesn't exist. You basically can't buy them. We've already seen broken ass Drukhari advance and charge out of their transports. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was I think it was like emblematic of like the transport problem in 40k. I do think transports are kind of like perennially an issue. It's probably not the biggest issue it's never the biggest issue that the game has, but I think it's always an issue that it's so 40k is like so based around your ability to like activate your opponent. Like if you can assign your attack activations efficiently on your opponent and stop them from doing the same to you, then you'll win 40k 9 times out of 10. Like that's the sort of the core of the strategy. But transports just like throw a huge wrench in that game plan, because you can never efficiently attack into a transport. So they always get the ability to like out activate you essentially. And I think every time transports have been really good, Drukhari have been really dumb. So I don't know. The unreliability of Dark Lances. Yeah, I think that's why you see a lot of people switching to Haywire Blasters, because they're a little bit they're less spiky, they're more consistent. But the problem is that if you hit, and with Tyranids being not fucking horrible, you might see monsters more often. If you hit monsters instead of vehicles, you're gonna have a bad time. Or you see like heavy infantry instead of vehicles. If people's big hammers are not vehicles, then you struggle a little bit. But you often see like 2 Dark Lances, one Haywire squad for that reason. One unit of Haywire is a must. Demons and Nids will be seen more often now. Yeah, I played against it was Yanari Haywire Blasters the other day. I think that my recording is on the VOD channel, but it was like brutal. It's just like randomly played Tyranids against Eldar. He did have double Night Spinners, which I didn't appreciate. That sucked. But the fact that all the Scourges just got blanked, like they were totally just utility units for the entire game, was like insane. I don't love those mechanics. I kind of wish that they smoothed it out. I understand the lore justification, but it's sad when the matchup entirely kills like a whole weapon option, you know? Because you're just like, I'm a monster, not a vehicle, get absolutely fucked. And then there's nothing they can do because like the list is already built. I don't know. Feels bad, man. Ran all hit Ryan rocked it, and then Sam Pope appeared. That'll do it. That's what I'm saying. And then he's just like, fuck you. Maybe if they were high base strength, right? If they were like strength 7, anti-vehicle devastating, and you're like, okay, we'll like roll some 5s to wound, and like maybe we'll get some 6s, and like it's something. But the fact that they're like strength 3, it's like they can't even shoot like basic bitch infantry and do anything. I don't know. It is what it is. We got a Skitarii Hunter cohort over here from the new and improved Adeptus Mechanicus. Belisari's Call, a Skitarii Marshal with Cantic Thrallnet, a Skitarii Marshal with Veiled Hunter, and a Skitarii Marshal with Battle Spear uplink. How many Rangers? 1, 2 Rangers, 1, 2 Vanguard, 3 Vanguard, plus Dune Riders, 2 Dune Riders to carry them around, 2 units of 3 Iron Strider Ballistari, only 1 unit of Sterilizers. So we're really doing board control today. 2 units of Cerberus Raiders. So we have a lot of scouting between the Rangers and the Cerberus Raiders. We have infiltrating from the Infiltrators, obviously, plus triple Sicarian Ruststalkers. These guys, I think, have been like there's been such a glow up, especially in Skitarii Hunter cohort, because you get the speed boost and their melee attacks are not like totally trash. Plus, you get more of a incentive to use your weapon skill, improving the Conqueror Doctrina, so that the turn that you're sending the Sicarian Ruststalkers in, you're actually getting some work done, which feels good. Basically, giving a unit +1 weapon skill and +1 attack in the detachment that already made them super fast is really solid. And for 75 points, these guys will tear up any equivalent unit basically. Once the buffs are put down, obviously. And then Lord Inquisitor Kyrie Draxus in there. I think mostly to give access to grenades. She's also good when you can fire support off of the Dune Riders, but there's not like an infinite number of stratagems in this faction. 2x5 Rusties is the new big brain tactics. The crazy threat range. Yeah, the threat range is nuts. Once you get advance in charge on those guys and they get to double up their battle line bonus, they go fucking insane. Can confirm. Good unit. I wish that Hellions got anti-vehicle 4+ for the points they are right now. How many points is a Hellion right now, chat? Mm, 17. There are as many points as an Assault Intercessor. For a T4 2 wound. They're faster, I guess. But their melee attack is, I guess it's dramatically worse because you're not getting mortal wounds in the charge. And their gun is fucking terrible. Yeah, no, he seems bad. The problem that I have with these guys, and I think I've always had with these guys, is that I don't really understand why both they and Reavers exist. I understand that it's like, the model got designed after like Spider-Man 2 came out, or Spider-Man came out, and like, we want a hoverboard guy because it's cool. Like, okay, sure. Like, why we got a biker guy and a flying like jetboard guy? Like, what is the unique like point that they're the unique like design space that they're occupying? Like, I have no idea. With the Cantic Throne that you also keep +1 ballistic skill and AP on the Ballistari. Ooh, that's spicy, actually. That's really good. So you have he can kind of like support the backline gun unit, even while you're doing Conqueror Doctrina to get all the bonuses on the aggressive stuff. That's really spicy. I'm curious to see what shakes out of Adeptus Mechanicus, because it does feel like there's a lot of build variety available to them. Plus this list, by the way, right? This list has Belisarius Call in it. We should keep in mind. Because that's new. That guy, you wouldn't be caught dead running that guy last week. Because it definitely feels like Rad Zone Core and Hunter Cohort are both eminently playable. And I think that Adeptus Mechanicus having a like solid, they have good like efficient shooting, and their other stuff is efficient if you combo it out, which feels like it should be the design space for Adeptus Mechanicus we're sitting. And it feels like they, at least watching them on the table right now, it feels like they actually they're like an actual faction. Whereas previously they were like a collection of data sheets that didn't really do anything or work together. But the fact that they like leaned into this battle line synergy, this battle line matters like design space, and gave the army like actual attack profiles, it definitely feels like it has opened up a lot. And I think, I mean, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that there's a lot more sort of exploration to be done with Adeptus Mechanicus. Hellions predate Spider-Man by 5 years. When did is that true? When did they come out? Uh, 98? Fair enough. Is that true? 98? Feels late. Yeah, it was 4 years before Spider-Man. All right. You got me, chat. You got me. It's all in the distant past. That was like when the pyramids were built and Cleopatra was around, right? They were based on Highlander 2. I've never seen Highlander 2. What happens in Highlander 2? Is there like a... I'm looking up pictures now. Is there a jet board in Highlander? I've only seen the first Highlander. I don't know. Oh, it's this. Is it this thing? What is this thing? Highlander Renegade version. Oh God, Chrome, calm down. Okay. Ah! No! Come back! It's so small! They have like a jetpack. They have like a jetpack in this one. Biggest buff to AdMech post-late is the 2+ save isn't the worst thing in the world for AdMech anymore. Do they have that much of an AP problem? I could see like a 2+ save AOC being problematic because they had a lot of like AP1 ignore cover and like AP1 buff to AP2. I guess like you can, if you just left your deployment zone, right, then they just didn't get their +1 AP bonus. Green Goblin has a hoverboard since like the 60s or 70s. Yeah, but like 40k tends to take stuff that's in the cultural zeitgeist, and like there's a very distinct 2-year cycle time between something, like between 1 and 2 years, between something releasing and it being incorporated into 40k. There's some like really recent examples, and I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. But my favorite one is Halo 2. The release of Halo 2 predates the release of the 4th edition Tau update by like exactly 1 codex cycle time, and the 4th edition Tau update was literally just the Covenant. Like that's when they introduced like the Aunva, the dude with like just has like elite honor guards and is a prophet from Halo, and like a bunch of other stuff. The Vespid, I think, were in that update too. There's like a bunch of stuff that's just like straight up ripped from Halo. That's my favorite. But that 40k just taking a pop culture thing and being like, hey, that's cool. Let's put it in the let's put it in 40k, and then it going through like a 2-year design period, like 1 to 2 year design period, and then releasing like 1 to 2 years later is extremely common. So I'll take your word for it, chat. I've never seen this movie, but if there is a, what was the release date? Highlander 2 release date. Was it 97? 91? Oh, that's really far in the past. All right. To hoverboard. Oh, this is like an actual hoverboard, though. It's like a skateboard that they hover on. The OG Hellions, like, had like a thing with blades on it. It very much looked like hobgoblins. Or, I guess, like Green Goblin from Spider-Man. But also, it's hard to see because these pictures suck. I love the screen grabs from like a real low-res DVD. That good like 720p from the DVD, like early 2000s DVD releases. Quickening hoverboard scene Highlander 2. All right, let's go. Let's go. What the fuck? In the grim darkness of the far future, there are only like 1970s cop cars. Damn. Highlander guy really fell off. He let himself go. Where's this hoverboard, chat? I want to see it. Oh, it's like a little tiny thing. It's like a little baby. It's like a little baby roller skate. It's like hover roller skates. It's adorable. I love it. It's so cute. Yeah, this would have been re-released as a DVD though, right? Like I have to imagine that the screen grabs from this are from a DVD is what I mean. But it like the DVD DVD conversions from like 90s movies are always like super dog shit. They always look terrible. Digitally remastered in Dolby SR. Let's go. Amazing. Look at that. Look at that glorious DVD cover, chat. It's like a screen cap from the movie, like blown up really big. Like even the photo on in the front of the the cover of the DVD is super blown out. Oh shit! What the fuck? That's so funny. Neo Harnkin Jaegers are the Star Wars Rebel and/or Troopers. Yeah, Herrenjaegers remind me of like they give me Gears of War vibes, but they definitely have like Star Wars like DNA in them for sure. Definitely. I remember being so excited to watch Highlander 2 on HBO. The friends of like, what the fuck was that? Yeah, that movie looks a little trash. A little trash. When was the like the Back to the Future? Is this Back to the Future 2? I've never seen any Back to the Future game or movie game. Jesus Christ. Back to the Future 2. When was that released? Nine 85. Okay. It's funny how much better that looks. What is this Doom Runners thing? Whoa, this is wild. I would have watched the shit out of this when I was a kid. This would have been my favorite thing. That's crazy. All right, but that was too late. Anyway, we can stop trying to uncover the roots of the stupid Hellion hoverboard. Two back, two future. Have we talked about the Lion or Dark Angels? We've not talked about Dark Angels. I have not found any Dark Angels yet. We've talked about a ton of Drukhari. Drukhari are like absolutely killing it right now. That was where I got sidetracked talking about hoverboards for way too long. The timestamps of this stream are going to be a nightmare. But I don't know how much Dark Angels there are. I know that there is like a narrative right now that Dark Angels are looking pretty strong. But I have no idea if that is the case. Because I don't know if anybody is really like pushing them super hard. Just more Adeptus Sororitas. Chaos Demons. Chaos Demons looking fairly good, though. Which is good. I was a little bit curious about where they would end up after their updates. Because the updates were definitely a quality of life change. This is kind of a standard loadout. Guo, Lord of Change, Galaxy, Hellbane, Scarbrand. Plus Bloodletters, Plague Bearers. I think the one thing that it did was it made these little units like way more playable. Because you can actually deliver them more easily now. By jumping them out of the big Gritter Demons. I also think that the new maps are probably pretty good for Chaos Demons, because a lot of them, they require that you have certain amounts of movement area, and one of the downsides of not taking Bellicor was that you were in like grave danger of just getting like blown off the table turn one if you didn't deploy super conservatively. And if you deployed really conservatively, then you wouldn't get to the objectives ever. But I think that a lot of the deployments in the new Pry Nexus pack have places for like the Great Unclean One and the big Bloodthirsters to stand where they can actually access objectives in the future. How do you beat Bring It Down plus Assassinate with demons? Well, Bring It Down actually became really terrible against them, right? Because I don't believe it maxes on 5 now, I think, right? I'm gonna double check myself here. I'm gonna correct myself because I think each Greater Demon is worth 4. So if you take 4 Greater Demons, then they can't max it. If you're playing like Raise the Banners, then I don't know. Sucks to suck, but what's the Bring It Down criteria? Yeah, so each Greater Demon is worth 4, except for the Guo, I guess. They're worth 6, but that's okay. For the most part, I have not found it being in like I've not found that it's an issue. At least I haven't played them in Pry Nexus very much, but I did play them the shit ton out of them in the last season in Leviathan when Bring It Down was even tougher because the big demons gave up like somewhere around 4 to 6 points regardless. And the it wasn't really that much of an issue, because if you didn't lose all the greater demons, then they didn't max any of their secondaries, and if you did, then you probably lost anyway, so it didn't matter what their score was. So you just like played normally, basically. You like don't throw your guys away willy-nilly, and that was kind of my experience. I found for the most part that people who took fixed secondaries against me as a greater demons player tended to struggle. Can someone explain why Blood Crusher Mortal Wound Strike for unit, not model? It's so busted good. Yeah, you can score both secondaries by killing one, but that means your opponent has to kill them. So if they don't, they just lose, right? So, like, it is unlikely for them to kill the Lord of Change, in my experience, because he plays so far back. They probably get the Great Unclean one, and they probably get the, like, whatever your other melee one is. But if you're not playing 5 really aggressive Greater Demons, you probably have 2 left at the end of the game. Has been basically my experience, like, almost 100% of the time I played them. And if they only kill 3, then they've only scored, like, 24 points on secondaries, and you've probably cleaned them out on tacticals. So, like, it's less about them being able to, like, double dip on your characters, and more about, like, you just being able to, like, counterplay. Like, they've gone so far in on killing your characters that the onus is on them to actually do it. If they don't do it, then the game's over. They don't win. If that makes sense. Yeah, I think that the Blood Crusher thing, if I remember correctly, all of the impact attacks had the same wording when in the index variety, in the index version. I don't know if Assault Marines did, actually. That's worth looking up. I think that they did. Let's we'll bring back our OG Space Marine index here. It was the Solid Squad with Jump Axe was the name of the game. Was the name of the unit. And I believe that they also checked for a unit that their unit was engaging. Come on, game. Come on. Let's go. Oh, maybe it's not reading the titles correctly. Oh, geez. This index was too long. I'm glad that Space Marines have less stuff now, because the index is way too long. This is not working. But I think that were they to get Redux, they would change. But I think that that is the better version of the ability. Like, I think that's honestly, the more reasonable version of the ability. Because it actually, instead of being like a silly thing that can accrue a little bit of value sometime, it's something that you can actually plan your game plan around. Which, to be fair, is good, because I don't think this unit would be... yeah, each time the unit ends a charge move, you choose an enemy and engage range a bit. So part of it is that was how they templated the Hammer of Wrath like style effect at the beginning of the edition. The other part of it is that Blood Crushers are a really big unit, and it's hard to get more than one model in engagement range. So they would be really bad if they worked any other way. But I think in my opinion, they should have kept all of the Hammer of Wrath like that, because I think it's basically... It's just any ability that you can actually plan your turn around is good. And this being model to model instead of unit to unit becomes like so much jankier on larger units and even 5-mans. Like, just getting 2 guys in on a 5-man squad and then averaging 1 mortal wound is like kind of worthless. Like, why are we like wasting our time with this? But I think if Blood Crushers had this version of the ability, I don't think that they would be played, to be fair. I think that it's much more important on these bigger units that don't really have the same damage output. They would need a more consistent way to do damage. But maybe if you just gave them like a way better melee profiles, that'd be okay. What's my opinion on Beasts of Nurgle? Are they worth 70 points? Yeah, I think so. A lot of armies do take them. This one I don't think does. But the army I talked about yesterday, the demon army that was undefeated this weekend, had 2 Beasts of Nurgle, I think. They're really good because indirect fire, which to be fair doesn't really see play much anymore because of the nerfs, and like utility stuff, like uppy downy stuff, basically can't kill them unless it's really powerful. And anything that doesn't kill them in one phase, they just heal back, and so they don't do anything. So there are these like really good units at skirmishing with other stuff. They can, for really cheap, they can just hold down an objective and be really, really, really tough to kill. And, you know, just dropping 5 Space Marines next to them is not going to kill them you know, regardless of the length of the timeline. What do I think about a Dark Angel's Vanguard with Lion plus the Vect, dude? I think it depends on what else is in it. The Dark Angel's Vanguard that runs like Terminators in the middle is like maybe fine. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. 1 sec. Excuse me. I like the new Vect guy. The ability to like put a Lord of Deceit on anybody in the faction's pretty cool. And like maybe you can sort of supplement it with Inceptors or something, and like you can also just take the regular old Centurion Devastator unit and just strategic reserve them normally. So like I think it's okay. Thank you. Thanks for the blesses. I appreciate that. But yeah, I've played against some varieties of it, and I think it's like kind of mediocre. I think like melee Terminators are sort of mid, to be honest. Deathwing Knights might be okay, but they're still only 5s. And the gimmick of the detachment is that you can uppy downy the Deep Strikers, and you can like forward deploy a bunch of Terminators. And like honestly, I don't even know if that's that good. Maybe it's yeah. Maybe it's okay if you have like a lot of fight firsters. If you back up Terminators with like Judiciary like sitting behind them, so you can like come in and kill stuff that kills them. But then you're like just playing a big brick. So why even play Vanguard? So I don't know. I think it's probably fine, but I don't know if I'm that excited about it. Much prefer them in Gladius, yeah. I think Terminators need like melee output enhancers. They need a lot of help. The Terminator profile is like sort of famously not very good. You're like, our lethal melee guys are going to be really slow, and you're like, oh, okay. So you really need to get you a bunch of extra speed to get you into melee. And infiltration alone is not going to cut it. Dark Angels and Gladius, the way to go? No. Just a few point drops be enough to make Terminators good? Terminators are a weird unit because, and it's partially because there's so many of them, right? There's like, if you play Deathwing, you have access to like 5 different Terminator datasheets, right? There's like Deathwing Terminators, Basic Bitch Terminators, Assault Terminators, Deathwing Knights. So you have 4. You have 4 different Terminator datasheets. If you just like went like, oh, we're gonna discount Terminators by 20% across the board, then the armies with 1 billion Terminators would be like, oh, let's go. We have 1 trillion Terminators now. And I think Terminators are a profile that, if spammed, gets problematic. So they're in like a really weird space because I think that there's too many varieties of them. So you can't like just wholesale make them super cheap because then they would be really dumb. But they're sort of a profile that doesn't really work otherwise. I think that you just increase their offensive output. Like right now, they're like strength 8 AP2 with the melee, with the big hammer. So you need ways to improve their offensive output to make them good. You can't just be like, hey, we're gonna play them in a fast detachment or something and then call it a day. Because then they charge like a T9 vehicle and don't do anything. They can't kill a rhino. You need like plus like out of the chapter or something. If you just made them like T2, like strength 10 or something, like suddenly, so now we're talking, you know what I mean? That might be much better. I think that's the way I would do it if I were just trying to fix assault Terminators specifically. I think gun Terminators. The place I like gun Terminators is in Space Wolves because you can give them the fire discipline combo. I think that's cool. Gun Terminators otherwise are like sort of they're in a tough spot. You need to make their Storm Bolters dramatically better at a baseline in order for them to be good. Because Jack of all trade units in 40k tend to be bad, and they're like they're just the perfect Jack of all trade unit. We're like, hey, we're trying to be tanky, shooty, and melee oriented. And you're like, okay, those are three things that don't really go well together. You know, pick one, pick one, and we'll make it work. Which is why aggressors are so much superior. So. Yeah, I don't know. I would, if you gave them like 6 shot, strength 5, AP 1, ignore cover, Storm Bolters. Like, oh, okay. If we just give them an entirely different range profile, sure. But right now they need a lot of help. Terminator should be a 3 to 6 model unit. If Terminators were 3 to 6 models and like had way better stats, I think that'd be really cool. It does feel weird you can take like big bricks of 10. Like 10 feels like too many. For sure. They should hard cap data sheets at 1 per army. Oh, like stuff with multiple like varieties? Maybe. As a Chad Tyranid melee bioweapon warrior enjoyer, that would make me sad. Warriors should be able to take 10? Fuck yeah, dude. I don't even think you'd need 10, but it would be... That would be, You also, like, could never get 10 into melee. Like, 6 feels fine. That would be rad, though. Give their Stormbolters pistol. That doesn't really help anything, to be fair. That'd be like cool, I guess, and makes sense. Like that's why they have Stormbolters, just so that they can shoot them when they're close to enemies. It's like bizarre that they can't do that. But I don't think like the problem with ranged Terminators is not their capacity to shoot while engaged, because most of the time they're either shooting, they're like dropping onto the table and shooting, and not killing anything because Stormbolters are not a good like baseline profile. Or they're in melee and then, or they're like charging something and killing it on the charge because they have like 10 dudes with power fists. Stormbolters need to hit harder like Inceptor Bros. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that the problem is that Terminators want to be like slow and tanky and not hit very hard, and it's just like not something that's useful. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the design space that GW wants them to be in, but that's not really something that's good in 40k. Unless you stack a ton of it, and then you're all like back to old Deathwing, where you're like -1 damage, 5+ feel no pain. You can only wound on a 4 with a 2+ save with like AP reduction. You're like, okay, so you have mortal wounds or you don't kill them, which was kind of problematic. Do we know what the next few codexes will be? I don't think so. I don't believe so. I think that we're still in redacted territory. Although, to be fair, I imagine that we'll get a lot of news like in a couple weeks, because right now they're really in on Age of Sigmar 4th edition stuff, which, to be fair, is where a lot of their sort of marketing is going right now, which I think is totally fair. Age of Sigmar needs their time in the sun, too. What is my cat doing right now? What are you doing? Okay. She found a box with some paint supplies in it, and she thinks she's just picking things up out of the box and then dropping them. You know, sometimes you just gotta enjoy yourself. Agents of the Imperium is the next codex. Has that been confirmed, or is that a rumor? I don't pay enough attention, unfortunately. Which I'm excited about. It sounds like Deathwatch is getting like a redux in there, which I think would be cool. Terminators need OC2. Yeah, I agree with that too. A lot of the heavy infantry, like the low volume heavy infantry, do feel a little bit out OC'd. it is weird when you use like a battle line, like a OC2, like 10-man unit, and they so dramatically out OC everything else in the game. In my tournament over the weekend, I had a single Hormigaunt that like lived through Morven Val's unit, like trying to blast it, and just sat on an objective for like 3 turns and out OC'd a battle tank. Like one Hormigaunt just kept passing his stupid leadership 8 leadership check, and was just contesting an objective forever. I was just like, this is, I don't know, this feels weird. Which I guess, to be fair, would have happened in the previous edition, but with OC values being what they are, it just felt kind of strange. Making 3 to 4 Deathwatch attachments is going to be hard. Yeah. I also think Deathwatch is, like, canonically probably more suited to being, like, a very, like, a niche kind of ally unit, which I think would be cool. I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do with the Agents of the Imperium Codex for sure. Anyway, chat. I think that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up there. Thanks everyone for coming hanging out with me. Please come hang out with me this coming weekend. It's not next weekend, it's this weekend. This coming weekend for the ATC. I don't know which event I'm going to be streaming yet, but I will be over there starting on Friday. So I have a streaming event for it up right now, and I'll see you over there later on. So yeah, otherwise, stay tuned to the Invitational page. We're going to be updating that as things go on, and we should have some Invitational games scheduled next week. Hello, kitty cat. So yeah, stay tuned to the calendar as well for when those go up on online. But otherwise, I will see you later on. Cheers, everybody.